All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the second live event of SC3x Supply Chain Dynamics. We are really excited. We got a cool session for you today, but before we get started for that, some really quick housekeeping things before we move forward. One of which is the very fun and exciting midterm opened up today. It's going to be awesome. So make sure to remember you only have a week to complete that. It will close on September 11th at 1500 UTC. No exceptions to that policy, so just make sure to go in, complete it within that week time, and also allot yourself 4 hours to complete it. So make sure you have enough time. Try not to wait till the very last day, because sometimes things get really busy around then, and we want to be able to support you if you run into any issues. So just for some last minute housekeeping, don't forget about that midterm, and make sure to go give it a try in the next couple days. All right, today we're really fortunate. We first have Arthur, because we love Arthur and we love his beautiful face on camera. So he's going to be supporting our event, because we're still making sure that our events go as smoothly as possible, and also because you guys all just know Arthur and love to see him. So we also have Dr. Maria Jesus Saenz. So she's the Executive Director of the Supply Chain Management Blended Program. She's has a long and very successful career. She's been a professor for the last 22 years. 22 years she's been a professor. So a couple, 14 years at the University of Zaragoza.
14,
she was also the director of the Zaragoza Logistics Center for many years, which is our partner center in our scale network. And then now she's joined us as the executive director of the MIT Supply Chain Management Blended Master's Program. And she's also the director of the Digital Transformation Initiative, Supply Chain Digital Transformation Initiative at MIT and a research scientist here at the center. So today we are excited to have her first to kind of talk very, very briefly about the SCMB program. And then we're going to get into sort of a little Q&A about some of the work she's doing. So I'll be asking her some questions about her research. And then at the end, you guys will get some opportunity to pop in your questions with any time we have remaining. So make sure as we're going along, you know, if you have any questions that haven't been answered, to share those and then put those in the chat. And we'll try to get to as many as we can, primarily on the research area, and we can direct you to the SCMB website for any further questions. So should we get started with this? Oh, so let Arthur say hello briefly, and then we'll have Maria say hello, and then we'll get started.
Great, thank you so much. Hi everyone, it's nice to see you all in person. I see some people joining by video and audio. You're welcome to. We'll be taking questions from the chat, which is in a little button at the bottom of your screen. And there's also an opportunity, if you click on the participants button, for you to raise your hand or tell us to go faster or slower. So you can use those tools inside the new Zoom app that we're using.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alexis. Thank you very much, MicroMaster, Arthur, all the MicroMaster team for having me here for several reasons. Because then, to share my research with all of you, and also to have a very, good conversation about this very fascinating topic, digital supply chain transformation, but also because I am linked with the MicroMaster, because then the blended program, the Supply Chain Management Blended Master Program at MIT, is the continuation, the natural continuation of the MicroMaster, right? So for these two reasons, I am very happy to be here with you today, right? So then we have prepared a presentation just to have some illustrations that could reinforce our discussions. So, but of course, as Alexis mentioned, we will be more than glad to answer whatever kind of question you may have, or even comment question, or even just to share experiences around the fascinating topic. So in terms of the agenda for today, so this is what we would like to cover, right? So then we would like, in a nutshell, only in these 30 minutes, to go over the digital supply chain transformation concepts, and especially capabilities and applications, right? Why some companies have been so successful, through this journey, because it's a very complicated and long journey, and why so other companies, they were not so successful. What are the key drivers, key challenges, key barriers, and from the technological, but especially from the organizational point of view. But before that, let's talk about the blended program, right? So as I mentioned, is a continuation of the of the MicroMaster. As you can see here in the slides, can you see the slides?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So then once you will go through very, I mean, it's an interesting courses on supply chain, 0, 1, 2, 3, as we are here, I mean, 4, then you will get the MicroMaster credential. So this means that you are eligible to apply to the MIT Blended Master Program in Supply Chain Management. Actually, it's the Master of Applied Science, is the continuation of the MicroMaster, because it's the way of taking advantage of all this effort of this 12, 15, 18 months that you are gonna spend on the MicroMaster in order to get a final degree, master degree by MIT, right? So then we have highlighted here not only the picture of our very brilliant, graduates, but also some key facts that, I mean, could maybe make you think about all these possibilities. So typically, once you finish the MicroMaster, you apply, it means that you join us in January with another group of 40 students that are coming from, we call the residential. So totally, we will have like 80 students, 40 from the blended, 40 from the residential. The typical experience is around 8 years of supply chain management experience. This is a good number in order to illustrate, how experienced is the class, how vibrant is the discussions within the class, which kind of profiles are you gonna, would you find if you will follow this particular journey, this particular path with the blended. We are very happy to share that we are ranked #1 worldwide as a master program in logistics and supply chain management by Edu Universal. So in, I guess, 5 years in a row, yeah, am I right with this? So this is quite relevant. This means that we are, selecting the best candidates in order to also to have the best, talent minds in our class. The benefit of joining the program, so it's clear, is just to get immersed in the entrepreneurial culture at MIT in campus, because then typically our graduates, when they finish, they one important insight they share with us is that they have changed their way of thinking after going through MIT, right? In terms of challenging problems, in terms of challenging ideas, concepts, in order to start a new kind of project with a mate, in order to run and integrate different elements from your MicroMaster courses in real life applications with a group of students. Also, these students, these graduates will join the alumni network. We are talking about more than 700 alumni are coming from all over the world, some of them in the positions of CEO, COO, chief supply chain officers. So good mates to be related with. And of course, then a lot of companies, from top companies, Apple, Amazon, Google, just to name a few, also retailers, Walmart, so manufacturing like Dell, they come to our class in order to be able to recruit our graduates. So then this means that you will have the opportunity to increase your salary, you continue in your company, or maybe to jump to a better job. So I wanted to share all these opportunities just to have in mind. So in the slides, you have the link, how to apply. With the closest deadline is November the 1st, but of course, then we will have later deadlines that you will be able to apply to. I will be glad to answer whatever kind of question. Please feel free to send me an email if you have your particular question about your profile, right? So this is, one of the reasons I am happy to be here with you today. And again, thank you very much, Alexis, for this opportunity.
Great, great. So that's one of Maria's hats. She wears many hats at CTL. So you got to see one hat, and hopefully some of you guys are keen to look into it more. And now we're gonna switch to her other hat, which is the digital supply chain transformation research hat. So, and I realized that I forgot to introduce myself. I just assumed that you guys all know me, and you know what you happen to assume, but I'm Alexis Bateman. I'm the course lead for SC3x Supply Chain Dynamics. So, and now we're happy to have Maria. So, I just want to start to talk about your research. So, you know, there's a lot of buzz around this terminology of digital supply chain transformation. So can you tell us a little bit of insight about what that really means? What does that mean as a concept?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, then, yeah, a lot of people is worried about the topic. Digital transformation is two huge, I mean, words here, digital and transformation. And then we were discussing internally within the research team how we can define this topic in a short sentence, right? We can start including some different sentences, but the idea is just to find a short sentence that will describe in a clear manner what do we intend with digital transformation in the supply chain. And we came up with this, I mean,
grab the mouse 1 second.
yes. Perfect. Thank you, Arthur. Yeah. So here, then we define as the analysis of digital data to transition towards a value-driven supply chain. Let me define each of these elements because there is a lot in this definition. Of course, I mean, the main purpose is just to analyze analyze data that is coming from digital sources. Here we have a lot of technology in the word digital, right? But it's not only about technology. The technology will enable us just to use this data for the particular benefit. What is the benefit? Is to make a transformation of the supply chain towards more value. And value means almost everything, right? So then we have been quite used to measure, to forecast demand, right? And then to be able to, I mean, to manage our inventory and to quantify our inventory, our EOQ. And so this is great. And there's a lot of data behind that. But the idea is with another layers of data, how we can find even new dimensions that could help us to generate value. Value for our supply chain and also value for our business. So we will differentiate between these two ways of creating value. Value for our supply chain. This is something that we are gonna mention later as digitization, right? And then digitalization is when you are creating value for your customers with maybe with new value propositions, with new business models that are coming from better capturing information from the customer or from the market or from wherever. This is why in the word value, we can include wherever. Actually, one of the insights is just to discover new dimensions that maybe we didn't realize that were there. But measuring all this data, the idea is just to allow these dimensions to emerge from the data in order to better discover how to create additional value. So then these are the different terms. So analysis is important. Of course, data is important. Transition is important because it's a very long journey. It's another way of thinking. So if you have data, then it means that you can calculate an ROI very quickly. If you have the machine, the technology that is capturing the data, you have the way of, I mean, integrating all the data in order to calculate very quickly ROI and then to make a decision. Let's go or we will not go for this particular project. This is in a very agile way. This is why it's a transformation. So then is a way of changing the culture of the supply chain to be even more data-driven, right? This is the idea of creating new value. And value means everything. It's another buzzword. I know, but this is the beauty. Let's discover where is the value.
Great. No, that's great to put some clarifications there. And you're talking about the multiple pieces that really are involved in this, which is, you know, the collecting of the data, the analyzing of the data, and then also the transition of embedding this. And so, can you talk a little bit about the capabilities that you need to embed to be able to do all those things and make it a smooth and effective transition?
Yeah, let me put an example about just to illustrate all this, right? And then to deploy the capabilities. As you can see in the slide, I don't know, you have an Audi car, right? Maybe you are, or you have a friend that has. an Audi car. So then imagine that then you go to the Amazon e-commerce platform and then you buy something, and then DHL is the service provider who is delivering to you this particular parcel or package. Then the idea is that in your mobile phone, you can have an app, and then once the DHL driver is close to your car, because this monitor where is the location, then you can activate the app and then to say, okay, let's open the boot of my car, the car boot, right? And then the driver can put the package in, and then he will close, he will click on the app. You will see that then the package has been perfectly delivered. And then it means that at the end, I mean, me as a customer, I don't have to wait for 2 hours from 9 to 11 that the package will be delivered. Here in the US, the packages are delivered just in the front of our door, right? So because it's not, the safety and security is really high, but in other countries it's not the case, right? So this is one example of supply chain collaboration. When the three partners, it means DHL, Amazon, and Audi, they have made agreements how to better digitize their digital flows, sorry, physical flows, right? And then to, I mean, connect all the data, connect with the customer in order to better understand the value that this kind of integration of different partners can, the value that can be created for a particular customer. So at the end, I will have my package in the boot of my car, which is great, in a safely manner, and I will have only to click a couple of times to my phone, right? So again, is a way of creating value for the customer, is a way of aligning all the physical flows from these three partners with the information flow, with the flow of information from these three partners, right? In order to be able to generate value. The key question here is how we can split the gains generated by this new arrangement. This is the key question, is not obvious, right? Because who is putting more effort? Is the DHL driver that has to wait until, I mean, the customer has approved to open the boot of the car? Or is about Amazon who is really integrating all the partners? So a lot of questions, a lot of discussions, a lot of collaboration in order to create the rules, thinking about the short term, but also learning from the customer. Because if they grasp this information, maybe they can learn what is the behavior in order to go to the next step, in order to propose an additional value proposition, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so then this is the idea. The three of them, they need to create and to develop certain capabilities. They need to rely on each other in order to be able to gain this value at the end. This is an example that this is, from my point of view, is quite, I mean, insightful in order to how to align supply chain. So then this, in this kind of context, the term digital is coming, right? So it was created, this term, like, I mean, 4 years ago. And digital means how to integrate the digital layer, digital flows, with the physical flows, right? In order to create new value for the customer, or new value, in this case, for the network, right? So isn't that interesting?
Yes, definitely. No, that's a really good example. I like that one. Although I personally don't own an Audi and probably won't in the near future, but
yeah, me neither.
Just kidding. So, you know, early in SC3x, we talked about supply chain complexity and how complexity becomes embedded in the supply chain in different ways, whether that be through, you know, different partners you're working with, suppliers, number of products. How can, you know, and as you've seen in your work, how can digitalization and digitization kind of help deal with that complexity and kind of resolve some of the issues there and promote, you know, more efficiency, effectiveness in the supply chain?
You can, yeah. Yeah. For example, we are now, I mean, running a case study with, leader company in the computing industry about how they are digitalizing their business, and especially how they are transforming the supply chain from digital transformation point of view. And then it's interesting to, I mean, hear how they describe digitization versus digitalization, right? because then it's not a consensus about how they describe it. Yeah. Thank you, Arthur. Nice to be spending. Yes, perfect. So here, I mean, let me put an example. Can I move? Yeah, perfect. So then, I mean, Zara, Inditex, right, in apparel industry. Another example. So then, for example, they have deployed IoT, RFID technology in all their value chain. From the supplier who is manufacturing a particular garment, right, that is delivered to the Inditex distribution center, and then everything has been traced with the IoT, with RFID tag per garment, right, and then the garment is delivered to the store, and then very quickly they can get 100% visibility about where the product is, what are the amounts, if it's even in the fitting room versus the the shelf outside just for selling, or even is only on the e-commerce shelf just to be delivered for a particular customer that will pick up this particular product, right? So then they have implemented RFID and IoT, particularly in the supply chain, in order to better digitize the product, in order to better digitize the supply chain, in order to have better visibility, in order to have, in order to monitor the product end to end, from the very beginning of the manufacturing the product, the garment in this case, to the delivery, even to when the product is on the hands of the customer. So this is the example of digitization. So they transform the processes in order to get higher visibility. They had to include technology like the RFID IoT, and they had to provide end-to-end data in order to monitor all the information in the warehouse, in the distribution center, etc. Right? I have another slide here describing this. So typically for digitizing, it means that we need to standardize the business processes. Typically means that the companies, they have a unique operational backbone. It means only one ERP system that is very well aligned with the warehouse management system, with the transportation management system, with all the e-commerce even platform, inventory management, a unique operational backbone. Only one single source of the truth. It means that the figure is the same for every single echelon. It means, so the truth is only one. So sometimes when we are monitoring inventory positions, it means different things for the supplier, that for the manufacturer, that for the the warehouse manager. So if it's a particular garment of a particular position, then everybody in the supply chain will receive the same piece of information referred to this particular location, right? Sometimes in the previous to digitization, then it means that the data is so dispersed all over the Excel spreadsheets that, sometimes it's not a single source of the truth. The idea is just to have this unique data set. Of course, more connectivity. It means, for example, a central control tower with cross-functional, connection of the data, even cross-organizations, in order to be connected about all the physical flows, digital flows. As mentioned, technology adoption. This implies, of course, a lot of efficiencies, because then it means that if you have monitored all the products, all the flows, it means that you can react very quickly, and you can also allocate resources in a more efficient way. It means that you know how efficient was a particular resource, let's say a particular logistics service provider, right? So for certain products or for certain areas, you can automatically allocate this logistics service provider, because he or she, they are gonna behave in a better way according to the expectations. So then a lot of opportunities for efficiency, operational excellence. And of course, this requires a lot of changes in terms of working. So the supplier needs to work in a different manner. Maybe he or she, they need to be more proactive in terms of sharing data. It's not an issue about, okay, it's my data. No, then the data is going to be shared in order to take to the next stage, in order to take advantage of this data that is shared, not only for forecasting or inventory management, but maybe just to measure, let's say, complexity. How we are going to measure complexity? Can we measure complexity of the data that we are sharing in the supply chain? Can we learn about assessing complexity in the supply chain in order to better maybe segment my supply chain in a long-term view, but also in a short-term view? Long-term view with a macro vision, or short-term view one we have a macro segmentation? Can we do a short-term? I mean micro. Sorry, macro and micro is the way of differentiating macro and micro. Huh? Sorry about my English. No.
I understood.
So this is the idea, right? So you have more data, then you can deploy more fine-tuning. Real-time decisions. Yeah,
Great.
at the way.
No, this is
So
great.
This is
Connected to so many-
digitization.
Mhm. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So the difference is with digitalization, right? So then imagine that continuing with the example of Inditex. So then the next step is how we can take advantage of the deployment of RFID IoT for generating new value propositions. Imagine, I don't know, that, we are wearing a particular garment when we go to the fitting room, right? So maybe this RFID tag in the garment that we want to try on, then the idea would be that maybe we can monitor that this garment is in this particular fitting room, maybe with this particular customer. So then maybe the system can start proposing some other garments that would be very well aligned according to my taste in terms of fashion. And maybe this particular garment is characterized as a festivity just for the wedding. So maybe the system will propose a hat or will propose a particular flower as an accessory, right? So then again, this can create additional value, or maybe to show the most interesting influencer just wearing this particular garment, right? Just to convince you that this is really, really worthy, right? So again, this is another way of monitoring the garments, but not only for finding efficiency in supply chain processes. This is the digitization part, but let's go to create new value propositions that will create, of course, more sales in order to better tap on what the customer would expect, right? So this is the idea of digitalization, right? Here, as you can see in the slide, new digital value propositions just to understand and to measure and to quantify the expectations of the value from the customer side. Of course, we can integrate with other kind of technologies. Social media, artificial intelligence is playing a lot in terms of marketing, an important role here, mobile cloud, IoT, biometrics, in order to measure better in this example, the shape, in order to better advise what will be the garment that better fits with this kind of profile. In some cases, could be even a business imperative. For example, the bank industry, the finance, right? Companies that then they sell services, and in the services, they need to be more digitalized because they can better capture, they can better monitor what the customer can expect out of that particular business. Yeah, and even you can personalize customer experience with almost no effort, just to understanding what he or she, the customer, will expect, right?
Great. No, that's great. You already touched on quite a few things, in these first 4 weeks of the courses, kind of how it's impacting different elements of supply chain complexity, thinking about how it informs us how to segment customers and suppliers potentially, thinking short-term, long-term, things like scenario planning, how we can inform sort of those long-term perspectives. So that's great. I think that was a nice kind of perspective there. And then as you were saying, sort of different industries of the business imperative, definitely, for instance, the pharmaceutical industry must be technology very much impacted this, right? They're
Yeah.
looking at serialization and tracking of products. So definitely businesses that are pressured for more of these kind of tracking and visualization, or excuse me, visibility in the supply chain could definitely, take these learnings to heart. So you provided a little bit of a roadmap there and have talked a little bit about Inditex. Could you talk a little bit more about some successful journeys of some companies as sort of examples, just to give more insight on those learnings?
Yeah. The roadmap is interesting because there are different roadmaps that the company can follow, right? So maybe we can go back. Oh, sorry, I can. One more. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So some companies, they start with digitizing their processes because they realize that first they need to understand, how they deploy the processes, how they can standardize their processes better in order to differentiate the different deployments. So some companies start with the digitizing, but maybe some other companies, they start with an app in order to better interact with the customers in a very automatic manner, in order to grasp and to gather all this kind of information and assessment of the customer in terms of their particular taste and the particular desires, the particular expectations, and then to, bring all these assessment upstream in the supply chain, and then to talk with the suppliers. These are the expectations for these particular segments of customers, and then again to digitize after digitalized, right? So there is not a particular roadmap. Some companies start one, a step over the other, right? But it's true that when they start, whatever will be the starting point, then they should think about the experiences they want to create. With this company in the IT industry that I commented at the beginning, then they started thinking about technology. Okay, let's start, with automatic vehicles, AGVs in the warehouse. They start thinking about implementing RFID. They start thinking about implementing machine learning of RPA, right? But they start, asking themselves, why do I need, for example, IoT? Is because I need more visibility. But why do I need more visibility? Which kind of value proposition I want to generate thanks of having more visibility? Is because maybe I can better, better satisfy customer expectations in terms of when he or she is gonna receive the product. So then typically the companies start thinking about technology, machine learning, AI, and then they go step back and thinking about, okay, what are the experiences I want to create with my stakeholders, with my ecosystem? Do I want to think about more about satisfying the customers, or maybe to have a closer relationship with suppliers that we can very quickly interact among ourselves, right? So then I should, digitalize and digitize better the supplier with cognitive contracts, for example. Right? So these are typical examples that the companies start thinking about technology, while technology is like the second step, not the first step. The first is, let's create experiences, let's think about value propositions, let's think about our closer ecosystem in order to start tapping on them.
Right. Great. No, thanks for that. No, that's a very clear on sort of how to move forward. So with that in mind, could you talk about some companies that have done this well and that are well on that way to a successful transformation, right? I know many are on the journey or starting the journey, but I know that those that are kind of very far along on this journey are very few. So if you have some insights from those that have you've seen and experienced.
Yeah. Typically the companies that are in a very good mature state right now, but mature means that they have not finished because it's a continuous, journey, because it's another way of working, another way of reacting in front of the demand, in front of your ecosystem, in front of your suppliers, partners. But the more mature companies are those that have been very responsive supply chain. It means that from the market point of view, they learned in the past how to react very quickly, how to customize their deployment of the supply chain, whatever will be the product or whatever will be the different flows. Because this implied that they had to have a lot of visibility in order to deploy this responsiveness, right? So these companies are more ready to react in a fast mode. right? So they are more ready just to have a better digitized operational backbone in the supply chain in order to better, gather data in order to find all these new dimensions in the supply chain, and then to find new efficiencies or new synergies with the partners, right? So then companies, for example, in the retail industry, they typically, retail means also their manufacturers, fast moving consumer goods, and then going upstream in the supplier side. So these are companies that the market is so dynamic in terms of e-commerce, in terms of omni-channel, in terms of last mile delivery, and especially those companies that have a culture of a very agile culture, right? Amazon is a great example because they were created just to be agile. So they didn't learn how to be agile because from the very beginning, when they born, they were agile, right? So it's a way of thinking about even, testing very quickly and then deploying and then learning from this deployment and going to the next project, next step, next opportunity. So I would say that, two key words here, responsiveness and agility, right? Together, of course, with visibility, right? These are like three main capabilities in supply chain that if they were very well deployed, then they will help in an easier journey through digital supply chain transformation.
I muted you 1 second. How do I unmute? Apologies.
It's okay.
I thought, okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I can continue talking. Then I can talk longer and longer here.
It's not letting there.
Here we go.
Sorry. Yes, I don't know what happened there. Great. No, that was really insightful. And actually, I have to point out, like, the thought of Amazon being born, like a little baby Amazon, is going to make me laugh for the rest of the day because that's
yeah.
a little baby Amazon starting off just agile from baby stage. Anyway, so that was very insightful. Thank you. And then, so now just to kind of wrap up my questions, and you guys, please now, all our learners on the line, any questions, start populating them in the chat. We don't have much time left, but please pop in any questions we can ask Maria in the few minutes remaining. So, we've talked about sort of what it takes, the capabilities, what can be done, what are the potentials, some roadmap, but obviously there's technological and organizational challenges that are going to be faced, right? That's true of any large organizations that have all these different parts and pieces and people and stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that? And while she speaks about that, please, if you guys want to throw in a handful of questions, we'll try to get to one or two before we sign off.
Yeah, so technology is just the tool. It's not the goal, right? This is, as I already mentioned, so some companies think that just for implementing RFID, they are more fashion and they are going to be better acceptance in the market. No, it's not, right? So then you should, ask, why do I want to implement this particular technology, right? From the organizational point of view, there are different challenges because then this agile mode of short experimentation means that you need to have the data, available, right? But also you need to have the organizational, the organization structured in order to allow this experimentation. It means that the hierarchies are gone, right? So then it means that, whatever kind of member in the team who has a very good idea can propose this idea with all this data will be tested and assessed, then will be the impact in the key performance indicators, very quickly will be assessed, and then the decision will be very quickly yes or no, let's go, right? We'll implement it and let's go to the next one. This is the kind of agile. This will require additional changes in the structure in the organization and also in the relationship with your partners. You cannot think about, okay, this is my scope and this is my boundaries. No, maybe you need to move, upstream or downstream into your partner's boundaries, right? But not only the partners today, but maybe your partner today, for example, the example of DHL, Audi, and Amazon. Amazon and DHL in the logistics landscape, they are competitors right now. And they were collaborating. So then, because they can really be complementary one to each other, right? And then they can really find synergies in this value creation. So you need to think out of the box in terms of the cross-functional teams, in terms of who is owning the data internally in the company, but also outside the company, in terms of the agile mode of experimenting, and to incentivize this experimentation. And sometimes this requires another culture. I have seen some companies that they want to be digital. Yeah, but they cannot do it because they don't have the flexibility in their organization, in the way of thinking, measuring, and to include the incentives in order to be agile, right? They should ask their boss of the boss in order to create the budget that should go down once it is approved. And this takes, 2 months. No way, because then your competitor is gonna take advantage out of learning from your market if you don't learn out of it, right? Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, definitely. And I like thinking about, you need not just the data and the technology, right, which are two important pieces. You need the information, you need the technology, but the people component is so important, right, because people need to manage it and run it. And so you need all these kind of three pieces to work in tandem to be successful in this transformation, and not just the transformation, but the continuing for the long term, right? So no, that's great. So there's a few questions. Arthur's going to pose a couple to Maria, and then we'll sign off for the hour. This has been great. So we'll have a couple questions.
So Anurag asks, what kinds of digital transformation are taking place in procurement? And what can we expect to see?
Yeah, interesting question and very pertinent, very insightful actually, right? Procurement. So one of the most interesting, it depends on the industry, right? If I am thinking about the apparel, for example, all the e-sampling of garments, of designs, it means that the sampling is in a digital form, so very quickly, even you can, visualize the fabrics of the particular garment in a digital manner. So then you can test even with your customers very quickly, do you like it or not, before manufacturing even the first prototype. So then all this prototyping is quicker. So they can, with e-sampling, e-design, then you can, the companies, they can quickly design, and they can interact very quickly with their suppliers in order to have the garments manufactured and then in the shelf very, very quickly. But also in terms of, for example, contract. So all the cognitive contracts, it means that whatever kind of contract, even if it was in a paper format, can be scanned. Then all the main elements can be assessed in terms of different parameters, different variables. Then this could be crossed with your KPIs, with your suppliers, in order to monitor what is the performance of this particular supplier. This could be, for example, also integrated with reputation of this supplier in the website. Is this supplier having any problem in terms of the reputation? Because maybe in the news there were some problems. Some artificial intelligence systems will monitor all the news in order to monitor the health of these particular suppliers from the financial point of view, from the sustainability point of view, and then in order to cross with the cognitive contracts and then to integrate all this information. I think that this is, from the procurement point of view, is going to be, a very disruptive, I guess, way of interacting with your suppliers. Again, lead time is key. Who controls about the time and the lead times is going to be the king of the world, right? Because then you will be able to react very quickly if you are able. And but of course, how to interact with the suppliers, how do you collaborate? At the end, you need to agree on rules for sharing information and how you are gonna split the gains, how you are gonna share the gains that are, monetized from this new value that has been generated. This requires some interaction at the end, some collaboration. But then you need to be very agile in order to understand how your key suppliers behave and what they are gonna expect. You need to empathize. Empathize is the word, with them in order to react very quickly.
Right. No, that's great. And we start off SC3x, obviously, with looking at bullwhip effect, right? So we're thinking about what are the environment with which bullwhip is impacted, right? And things such as this, right, could definitely minimize that kind of impact. So thinking about lessons we've already learned and how this transition is going to impact some of those kind of bigger cross supply chain issues. So I think we have time for one more, Arthur.
I wanted to ask if we could go a few minutes over. We're at the 45, but if we can go
if Maria's okay with it, we could do one more, and then if any of you guys have to
I am
sign up.
enjoying a lot.
First of all, thank you to everyone joining. These questions are fantastic. I apologize that we won't be able to get to all of them, but there's sort of a combination. I'm going to combine Ramon's question with one that Gael asks. What do you think are the major pitfalls for companies operating across multiple locations? And is there any metric on the size of investment that a company has to make?
In terms of operating in multiple locations? Yeah, I mean, it's a very general question, so it's difficult to answer, but it's true that talking about supply chain relationships, companies that are, I mean, strong in terms of global footprint, I mean, they should think about changing the way they integrate with the logistics service providers in order to incentivize the right dimensions. For example, density. Are you measuring density with your logistics service provider? Because density that can be created with, I mean, by this logistics service provider with other customers will benefit you. If you don't include this density in your contract, then you are losing this opportunity. But if you incentivize density and then you monitor, measure, and incentivize density as part of the creation of your price contract with the logistics service provider, if you are doing so, then you will create more density, will find some efficiencies. And these efficiencies can be shared with the logistics service provider in order to, again, to be more efficient, shorter lead times for your customers is going to be good for them. This will require to measure a new dimension that is this density. For example, right?
So
yes.
efficiency and cost are highly related.
Absolutely.
And so Chung, and back to the money thing, Chung and Ramon, how much does it cost to do this? And especially in a mature organization where the processes are already in place.
Now you have to give us one number for everyone. No, I was kidding.
We cannot provide one number. I can tell you how companies are budgeting this. So they are budgeting in the short term, like we ran 17 case studies about how different companies are doing this budgeting thing. So typically the more technology oriented, these are very easy to quantify because you know what is the investment, how it is costing. So then I will implement RFID, IoT, the consultancy companies is whatever, right? The problem is what is the return of investment, right? So for more technology or more, for example, servers just to manage, you know, to have the engineering part of the data, right? Then they are doing a very traditional way of budgeting. But for all this agile way of thinking, experimenting, they have a big bucket of money in order to start and pulling from that. So they are not so strict, especially at the beginning, in order to, I mean, to say, okay, we are expecting an ROI of, I don't know, of 6 months or of this percentage. It's not, right? At the beginning, you don't know what advantage you are going to get out of it. When you are rolling the projects and you have all the data available, it's easier to get this ROI. But at the beginning, they cannot. This is why you need to have a big box of money in order to spend on this way of thinking, right? And way of executing and experimenting. Then you need to monitor the impact of all these benefits, and then you will learn also how to better budget, right? In a better way. Some companies, they hire, consultancy companies that are doing great job in this kind of area. But of course, the best way of behaving, you can ask for help, but also just to be prepared for learning. Because you need to understand why do you want this instead of asking an external company to tell you what you should do. They can help you, but you need to understand internally, why do I want to create more visibility? Why do I want to create more value propositions for reducing the waiting time of the driver of the Audi, right? So then these whys are, sometimes are difficult to quantify, but once you learn how to run and roll out all these short-term projects, you can make the bigger snowball in order to create the culture, change the culture, learn about these benefits, learn how to quantify, learn what will be the value in terms of other kind of dimensions, what is the consequences of measuring and incentivizing density with my logistics service provider, for example, right?
Right. Great. No, this is great. And I definitely thinking about not just there is the cost of investment, but also all these additional values that are going to offset that cost and then eventually, have a return on investment, whether it be over time and, whether it be directly quantifiable, but being able to assess all those different impacts. I think that's a really good insight for anyone thinking about at the beginning of this journey or mid journey or, any of that. So thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just, if you are really interested to learn more, in our website is digitalsc, digitalsc.mit.edu. You can find the publications or the things that we are doing. We are involved in several projects right now, very interesting in blockchain. We are involved in AI from the human-machine interaction point of view. So then if you want to also to participate with some data, yes, okay, let us know. Ready to learn.
No, that's awesome. No, this has been a great session. Thank you so much, Maria, for taking the time to talk about your work. So like she said, go visit the website. I'll also have a link to that website on the live event page. We'll put the recording of this session, links to both the blended program and her initiative website. And also we'll put the slides up there. So in case you guys didn't get a chance, weren't able to see it as well, you can look at the slides as well. So, so this has been a great session. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Arthur. And don't forget to do your midterm. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.